Hello,
Hi, who am I talking to?
this is Cleveland.
Oh, hey, hold on, let me turn up my sound and let me change my name because that's my husband. You got a different teacher all of a sudden. It's so good to see a student.
Yeah.
So we'll wait a little bit, but it might just be me and you, and I have something to show you guys. And don't let me forget to record this. Oh, it is recording already. Well, it can listen in who can't make it. So
Okay.
Hi, everyone. We're starting our first Zoom call, and hopefully there are two of us here right now, and hopefully more will come. But if not, that's okay. And in the future, we'll see what happens. So why don't I just start with you, Cleveland, and ask if you have any questions about the essay, because that's really what it's about, or even the class in general, too.
Well, no, the essay. When I done what I turned in, just that rough draft and your comments on it. When I was going through it, and you made the comment about the multiple paragraphs of the introduction, and I was like, God, I've done like 4 introductory paragraphs, and my wife said the same thing. It was like, it should have just been 1. But so your comments on that, I understand that, and I'll make those corrections.
Okay.
And try to bring them all in, just as you said.
Yeah. So yeah, and I remember yours. Well, I remember one person had multiple introductions, so that was you.
Yep.
Now I'll know you. Now, see, I see your face. I'll get to know you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one. And here I can do like a share screen, because there's a little bit actually. Hold on a second. Let me do this first. Okay, now, whoops. Now let me share the screen. Actually, I'll do it on this. Okay. Oops. What is it showing you right now?
It's showing a blank screen, but there it is. It's showing me the punctuating titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did some examples. So the first thing that I'll just tell everyone is, with punctuating titles, this is just a small thing and I stuck it on here. The title of the book on course goes in italics.
Yeah.
And then the chapter titles chapter title, it goes in quotation marks.
Okay.
So I don't know if you made this mistake, but this is a mistake that a lot of students were making.
I didn't italicize it.
Okay. And that I have a handout for this that I'll put actually in the next unit. I thought I had, it might be sort of in one of those extra unit things. Oh, hey, it looks like someone else is on here. Who else do we have on here? It just says Samsung.
Yeah, somebody's phone.
Is someone phoning in? Maybe.
But there isn't a picture, though.
I was thinking maybe they're on mute. Whoops. No, they're probably calling in. Are you there? All it says is Samsung. Is anyone else there besides me in Cleveland? Okay, well, if you're there, at some point, speak up. You were muted, or they can't hear. Oh, whoops, they're muted.
Yeah, they are muted.
I'm muting you. Is someone there? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and mute you, but if you want, well, I can leave. If you want, I think I can unmute you. I'll just leave you unmuted, and whoever this other person is, if you can mute yourself, great. If not, I'll leave you unmuted, and at some point, maybe you'll say hi to us. So in the introduction, it's really, really basic. So Cleveland had a question about this, and it's something I wanted to go over. And on the assignment sheet, it actually says what you need. So if I'm going to do a new share. Hold on a second. So do you see this now? It's the victims and creator essay.
Yes.
So if you look at this, it tells you what needs to happen. So the first thing is introducing Skip Downing and summarizing this chapter, accepting personal responsibility, then define the key terms, and then give your thesis. So it's almost like, this is the first thing you have. Defining your key terms is the second thing you have. And then after that, then you're going to give your thesis.
Yeah.
There's some feedback. I'm going to mute that. Then you're going to give your thesis. So if we look at that introductory sentence, it can be something as easy, as simple as in Skip Downing's, or in, let me do it this way, sorry. In chapter 2 of Skip Downing's book On Course, and then I'm going to go back and italicize this because it is a title. Downing talks about what does he talk about? What a victim and a creator are. Yeah, something like that. And then we can just start the definition, you know, to him, whoops, I hate when my computer does that. To him, a victim is, and then maybe you give a quote.
Yeah.
And you have your quote, and then you have your page number. We'll just say 79, whatever it is. Da 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 da. You know, he also says whatever.
Yeah.
And some people continue on the definitions. They define the inner defender, inner guide, inner critic. So you can do that too. But the thing that we want to make sure is that we have this kind of signal phrase here, which is the to him a victim is. We have the exact words in, quotation marks, and then we have the page number. And the page number doesn't need to have the P or anything like that.
Okay.
So I'm not sure who, I think almost everyone took the integrating quotations quiz, but this is the hard part.
Yeah.
This to him a victim is kind of that signal phrase leading into the quote. And in my class, I always want a signal phrase. I always want to know who is saying this quote. And I don't want it plopped at the end, because a lot of students will do that. They'll give the quote and they'll say, you know, Downing said this or something like that. I want it at the beginning.
Okay.
And then after that, so you do your definitions, and then you have your thesis, which could be, I don't know, Cleveland, so you've been out of school for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, for a very long time.
So, that might be something that you and I talk about a little bit. You might kind of go back to school a little bit, and then probably you'll talk about this time you've been out of school a little bit, and maybe even what's led you to coming back to school. From what I heard, it sounds like you really are a creator. You've got your AS, you've got a job, you've been working at it, and now you're wanting to move up, and so you're coming back to school. Yeah. And so you're going to maybe talk about that whole sort of story that you have going on. Okay. And most students, or a lot of students, not most, are, they haven't been out of school for as long as you've been. And so when students have that huge break, then we kind of need to talk about it a little bit more. But for other students, you might have a thesis like, it might be like when I was in high school, I had the voice of the inner defender and inner critic in my head. But now that I'm in college, I listen to my inner guide. And if I'm using these terms, then in the introduction, I'm going to define inner critic, inner defender, and inner guide. I hope this helps everyone.
And that's just right after your introduction.
This is a part of the introduction. So all of this, if I'm going to put it into a color or something, all of that is the introduction.
Okay.
And so the introduction is one body paragraph. Now, Cleveland, if you're writing a really long paper, like 20-page paper, you might take a longer time to introduce your topic, and you might have a few paragraphs. But in a 3, even 4-page essay, it's 1 paragraph.
Okay.
And if you just stick to victim and creator in your thesis, it'll be, I have like this, like maybe a half of a page or something. Sometimes when people start defining those other words, it gets a little bit longer, but no more than a page.
Okay.
So here, just for everyone else, though, if this is my thesis, when I was in high school, I had the voice of the inner defender, inner critic in my head, but now I'm in college, I listen to my inner guide. Your body paragraphs are going to just follow this. So the first body paragraph, the topic would be high school and having the voice of the inner defender.
And just go more into detail in that particular body of what you just stated. Okay.
So the topic sentence, I'll just write a topic sentence. It might be something like, when I was in high school, I had, should be a comma there, I had the voice of the inner defender. And then I would say, for example, and I would give details.
Okay.
And you want the details to be like what, sorry about that. Show the actions you took when you had the voice of the inner defender. And this is 1 paragraph. Now, sometimes if the paragraphs are really long, you break them into 2 paragraphs, but we'll just pretend. So we have the introduction in blue, body paragraph 1 in orange, and then it follows from there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have other questions? And then I can go over some of the stuff that I have too.
No, it's just what you're explaining right now. It does help and kind of, get me to understand what I did right, how I can break it down into these particular paragraphs in the body and the thesis and the introduction. Because like I said, I had just went on and on like a very long run-on sentence when I started, but
Yeah. Yeah, and that's okay. It's just going back to like basic essay format, which, if you've been out of school, you're writing other types of documents or whatever. It's just reorienting your mind to this. Yeah. For me, I'm very with whatever essay you're writing, I'm wanting it to be very this is how I want it. Very straightforward with the introduction, a thesis at the end, and then every body paragraph starting with a topic sentence.
Okay.
Yeah. And typically even if you have a really long body paragraph, even then if you break it up into 2, you're almost going to have another topic sentence for that new where you broke it up. Paragraph. Yeah, it's almost like a subtopic. Okay. So let me share this other document. I took out, I hope this is recording. Let me share.
So at the end of this, these notations and stuff that you're making, is there any way that you could post this in PDF form so it kind of, with the blue and all of that stuff in there, then that way we could print that out and just have that as a reference?
Yeah. Okay, we are recording. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I just took the assignment, so maybe I'll just copy and paste that into another document.
Yeah.
And share
well,
it.
Because the one I have that victims and creators printout that you did have, and it's kind of does that same thing, but it helps with that color code.
Yeah. I'll definitely do that for sure. Let me share, and I can just turn that document into a PDF.
Yeah.
This I probably won't share. So if there's anything on it that we want to do on another thing, some of this I can take out and share it. But I have some student essays. I think I said in my syllabus that occasionally I would take a student. So I wanted to just look at a couple of them. I think I need to make this small. Can you see this okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's good right there. It's just blocking the title, and that's it. So that's fine.
Yeah, and it just says introduction example.
Yeah.
So in the OnCourse article, Downing explains many ways on becoming a successful student and other ways that will set you back as a college student. So right away, the on course,
Italicized.
yeah, it needs to be italicized. So I'm just going to fix it. I'm going to do track changes. And then it's not an article. It's a book in the book.
So when I called it an excerpt, that's incorrect as well?
No, an excerpt is okay. It's an excerpt from a book. It's a chapter in a book.
Okay.
But an excerpt is fine. It's just a lot of students have put article and or they'll put essay or something, and technically it's not an article and it's not an essay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he explains many ways on becoming a successful student and other ways that will set you back as a college student. So that's okay. Downing uses terms such as creator to explain what successful students do to be successful. A creator is a person that finds the best out of every situation. They don't waste time on feeling sorry for themselves. Creators find a way to improve. So all of this, this person, I can't remember if it's a girl or a boy, so I'll just say she kind of introduces it by saying Downing uses terms such as creator, but I would still want like a signal phrase in him just to make sure we know it's his idea. Yeah. So I might say like to Downing, comma, a creator is, and then even if we're summarizing, we still want page numbers. And I think that's the hardest thing for students to realize, is that even when you're taking someone else's words, you need to still do a citation. Okay. And for everyone, listening to this after the fact, the citation is the signal phrase and then the parenthetical with the page number afterwards. And it sort of sandwiches in that summary or that quotation. So for me with this essay, I would just pull out quotes and use it. Although I appreciate that this person is trying to summarize. I don't remember what you did. Another term that is often used is victim. So just a little, typo. A victim is basically the opposite of a creator. Victims tend, and in this case, this person used a quote, which is great. But again, I would throw in the signal phrase, Downing explains that victims, and then it's sandwiched in. What do I have? Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So this person kind of did that. They said victims tend to complain, blame, make excuses, and repeat ineffective behavior stated by Downing. And this is what I mean. When it's at the end, it's not quite as good. For me as the teacher, I'm wanting to see it at the front. And that phrasing is a little awkward. So I appreciate the attempt, but it's better to move it to the front. And grammatically, it actually sounds better. Yeah. Excuse me. Downing also uses terms such as inner critic, inner defender, and inner guide. Downing explains how our inner critic is the voice in our head telling us negative thoughts. The inner critic is quite content to trade success in the future for comfort in the present. So I love this, how they have Downing explains. It's great. And here I would say, he says. So again, I would have that signal phrase. And that's really why I picked this example, because they have some good things going on, but a few things that need to be fixed. Yeah. Is this helping you at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. No, this is fine.
And then again, the stated by Downing. So again, I appreciate that trying to do the signal phrase, but I want it at the front end, not the back end. The main point I took from that quote was never believe your inner critic, be confident, and always believe you can complete anything you put your mind to. Now, this is like commentary on this idea of the inner critic. And at this point, I just want the definitions. So I would actually get rid of that because it's already quite long. And so we really want to cut it down so it's not too long. So, I don't need to know what the main point you're getting from this. I mean, once you give the definition of inner critic, inner defender, and inner guide, you're going to be talking about it later. And to me, it's, you don't need to say that, whoever this was. The term inner defenders judges others instead of ourselves. So this is okay. It's just awkward. So I would just say, like, that's awkward. And then Downing states defender can find something to grumble about in virtually any situation. So instead of that, I might say Downing also talks about the inner defender, and then he states blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Their thoughts and conversations are full of blaming, complaining, accusing, judging, criticizing, and condemning others. The inner guide looks for the positive in any situation, like the creator. So again, I would want some sort of transitions, which I don't think we've talked about yet. So I might say, lastly, he talks about the inner guide who, just making it grammatically correct, looks for the positives in any situations, like the creator. Now, this is the thing. The inner guide is the creator. So we don't want to say like the creator, and a few people did that. They were saying, oh, you have your inner defender and you're a victim. Well, yeah. The inner defender is a part of being a victim. So with this, I would kind of, I lost it.
It's right above where you just highlighted.
Yeah, the inner guide who looks like a creator. So I would get rid of that, or I would say they are the creator or something. Downing states the inner guide knows that judgment doesn't improve difficult situations. The inner guide takes actions on improving and getting your mind and thoughts back on track. So this is a good example. Whoops. Sorry. This is a good example of, and I'll talk about the thesis in a minute, of what an introduction can look like, and also how we can edit it. And in this one, it doesn't need too much. It's just a little fixes here and there, you know. For some people, you're going to need more. And I don't, since this is a student essay, I won't, I don't want to send this to anyone, but I can.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
But you can go back and stop it at this and kind of look at this for a little bit. You, Cleveland, and if anyone else watches, could just be me and you and this Samsung person who maybe they'll email me and let me know who they are. And then here is the thesis. So in high school and early college years, I believe I played the victim role and let my inner critic and inner defender detour me from my goals. I'm now determined to be a creator and listen to my inner guide to accomplish the goals I set out for myself in the past. So I think this is a great start for a thesis. And in it, I see that I get, playing the victim role. We have this idea of inner critic. I know they're going to talk about the inner guide or inner defender, which detoured her or him, whoever this is, from their goals. And then now we're going to talk about being a creator. And I'm assuming that's going to talk about college. So that's a pretty good, decent thesis statement. It's a great start. Do you have any questions about this? Is this clear now?
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. Let me just go over a few other things, and then we'll, if there are no other questions, we'll just end the call. Something that some people do, and I don't know if you did this or someone else.
I'll let you know if I
did. Maybe I picked your example. I don't even know it. In this essay, I will write about how I explain how I'm a victim and creator. Now, if people watch the parts of the essay, PowerPoint, which was a really long time ago now, or I guess it was last week, but it feels like forever ago. Yeah. In this essay, I will write about, you never ever want to do that. That's announcing what you're writing about, and you don't need to do that. Instead, go ahead.
So you just leaving that out, which that was, I didn't do this, but leaving that out, you just go into I am or I was to start that?
Exactly what this person did. If you start like this by just saying, in the book On Course by Skip Downing, he talks about a victim and creator. You don't need to say, I'm going to talk about the book On Course in chapter 2 and about a victim and creator. You can just introduce it like this person did here. And then when you get to your thesis, it's the same thing. You don't need to say, I'm going to talk about how I was a victim. You just say, I was a victim.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you say I was a victim, I know you're going to talk about it. So it's being redundant.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was just with this. You never want that. You want to go back to the other model of, oh, well, this was their thesis. I'm sorry. But yeah, in their thesis, you don't want that either. You can just say, I'm not sure what this was, but you could just say, you know, in high school, I was a creator, I was a victim, or whatever it is. And then what goes in the body paragraph, and we were talking about this a little bit, and I wanted to bring this up because, you know, for some students got this and some students were a little confused about it. A body paragraph starts with the topic sentence. And so the topic sentence might be something like, well, what I put on that other sheet, which I will definitely send out to everyone, you know, whoops, let me turn this off. Hold on a second. So topic sentence could be like, you know, when I started high school, I was a victim. It can be as simple as that. So we'll have that as our topic sentence. And then after that, you would say, you know, for example, in my maybe freshman math class, I'll pick on math, everyone writes about English. You know, whatever, you know, maybe I had a really hard time, but I would never ask the teacher questions or whatever it is, and you're just going to go on. So you're going to go into detail. So here's an example, and I can't remember. So in the times I'm in English class, I can consider myself as a victim. This part here is a little awkward. And I'm not sure if they're talking about high school, college. So we want to be a little bit more careful with that. And it could be that their thesis had said college, but yeah. I would say, like, you know, when I was I'm going to do the track changes thing on this. Sorry. Whoops. During my senior year in high school, I considered myself a victim in my English class. Okay.
Yeah.
So just kind of rewriting it just to kind of get more to the point. In the way, because in English class, I tell myself all the time that I cannot write essays or do tests because I don't, so that should be because I don't put all 100% of my work. So I always do the work, but tell myself you won't pass or get a good grade on it. For example, when in high school, I will always wait for the last minute to do my work because I always wanted to do something else. Rather than work on my schoolwork, and I will say, you don't know how to write, or let's watch TV or worry about the homework later. So this is starting, you know, there's some good stuff here. The grammar is a little rough, and that's something can you hear that when I read it out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but, you know, for a draft, okay, but we might want to add in, we see this idea here of inner critic. You know, comes out there, but all of this is the language of the inner critic. So I would say, you know, I didn't, because we want past tense, and there are a lot of people who made past tense, present tense mistakes. I didn't put I didn't put 100% into my work because my inner critic would come out.
Okay.
I would tell myself, you won't pass or get a good grade on it. And maybe I would add, like, so why try? Whoops. So why try? You know, and then you might also say, like, that you're not giving an example there. You're just adding on more information. I would always wait for the last minute. You know, I might say I was also a victim because I would always wait for the last minute to do my work because I always wanted to do something else rather than my work or rather than my schoolwork. And then I would end a period, and then I might say, my inner critic would come out again and say, you don't know how to write, and I might add this together, so let's watch TV, something about like that. So again, I see this kind of writing with students all the time where there's actually some really good stuff here. And if we clean it up a little bit, the grammar, but then if we add in, my inner critic would come out, then my inner critic would say this, where we're almost kind of giving a signal phrase to our little quotes.
Yeah.
Then that will really help smooth out the paragraph. So, and if we look at this, for a very long time, I've also been a victim to the sense that my mind is corrupted with a negative thought in my head, but also I always told myself that I don't need schooling because I can just work. This doesn't need quotes around it, because I can just work all my life and still get through the world. Yeah, this doesn't need quotes on it. My inner critic would come into play because I know I blame everything on myself because of the mistakes that I do when writing or just regular work. Some of it's a little repetitive, but again, I mean, this paragraph, we could take it and we could so easily craft it into a really good essay, And let's see what else they do. Now, like later on, they bring in the inner defender. And with something like this, it's a pretty long paragraph. And so probably if this was me, and I'm not reading the whole thing, I'm just kind of scanning it. When I get to the inner defender, I would probably start a new paragraph, because then we're doing inner critic in one paragraph and inner defender in the other paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah. Depending on how long it is. If this ended up being really repetitive, maybe the two do go together, but that's probably what I would do. So again, if someone wants to look at this, stop the video, look at it, read it for a little bit, don't copy it, but you can see some of the editing here that I'm doing and how some of this, it's really easy to edit. I know I have a lot of experience, but if you're really just looking at what I'm doing, I'm just adding in that inner critic and kind of continuing that throughout the paragraph and then straightening up some of the grammar. I don't know if we want to look at another paragraph. I think this one was actually a pretty decent one. Do you want to go over it really quickly?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So who or what comes to mind when you think the word creator? If you would ask me about a month ago, I would have told you the creator is God, because he created the universe. But now after reading On Course, and again, that should be italicized, and you don't need the 6th edition, just reading On Course written by Skip Downing in chapter 2, he says, so here's one problem, but now after reading On Course by Skip Downing, you probably need to add something is, I know a different definition for creator, because this didn't go with he says. Mm-hmm. And this drives me crazy, so I'm just going to do that. Downing maybe explains that a creator is someone who, who changes, and now I'll start the quote, their beliefs and behaviors to create the best results they can. And because I already said that first part, I'm going to get rid of this. So this is just basic revising. Now the question for my education is, how have I allowed my circumstances in life to become a creator or a victim? A victim, as Skip Downing explains in the book illustrated above, so we don't need to say in the book, we can just say a victim, as Downing explains, is when people keep doing what they've been doing even when it doesn't work. They are, oh yeah, that's right, is when people keep doing what they've been doing even when it doesn't work. While I have had and continue to have more creator instead of victim moments, I will always be a creator. So a couple of things with this paragraph. I tell students never to start with a question. So instead I would rephrase it, and what I would say, if someone would have asked me for my definition of a creator, a month ago, a month ago, I would have told you blank, or I would have told them blank. So that gets rid of the question and makes it into a statement. And then even this question, now the question for my education is, have I allowed my circumstances in life? You don't want a question like that. You just want to make a statement. I have allowed my circumstances in life to make me a victim or to make me a creator. So you don't need any questions. So this can be a shorter introduction. It doesn't have to be really long, where they kind of pose this interesting question. They introduce Downing. And so I would add a little bit more here of what the whole text is about. And then we get into the definitions, and then this, very different and really nice thesis statement. And then this was from the same thing. And these are just typos. I mean, this was a draft. So, one of my most creator moments was when I decided to go back to school after 10 years. So again, we have this great topic sentence because we have this, idea of they were a creator and then going back to school after 10 years. Excuse me. It all started when I went to work one day. I realized that being in the line of work that I'm currently working in was not making me happy. So the past tense. Then I thought to myself, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life, waking up to a job like that? Both answers were no. So what did I do? I enrolled at Ridley Community College and made a decision of what I do want to do for the rest of my life. Now, how is me going back to school related to creators? So again, I would get rid of that and I would just say it. The connection is easy. I don't like what I do for a living, so I will try something else. And then as Downing illustrates on page 34, I would never do that. That's not the proper way to cite something. If you're going to grab a quote or something, you need to do what we did before, which is have the signal phrase, have the quote, and have the page number. With this person, and I think what I said to them is that I want them to write more about how going back to school either made you a creator or something like that. But there needs to be more. Like, this paragraph is too short. There needs to be more information, because I decided that I want to take control of my life. Whatever this is that makes you feel like a creator, or going into school, maybe you just signed up easily and you didn't have any second thoughts about it. But whatever it is, there needs to be a little more in this paragraph. It's too short,
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you see that? Can you see the difference between this? I mean, this is really kind of nice. And this is great for you, Cleveland, because this is someone coming back to school after a break.
Yeah.
But and they have some really nice things in here, but we've got to get rid of those questions, get rid of this, like illustrates on page 34. That's not the right thing to do. You need to just quote it. And then adding more,
Yeah, doing this helps a lot, because then it gives me the ideas in my head, when I wrote mine, what I did incorrectly and what I need to do.
Yeah.
To kind of just clean it up, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope other students watch this too, because I think it will really help them with the examples of what to do. And and how to clean up the paragraphs too. I did a fair bit of editing in this, but you can see, like, man, the ideas are good, but it needs to be edited, and so this can be the difference between even a high D and a, A, B, or C, or a C and an A. And what I find is that if someone has a hard time with editing, go get help, because have someone proofread it for you, because it really can make a difference. I don't want someone to write your paper for you, but definitely when I was in school, I had people proofread my essays for me.
Yeah. Well, it just puts a second set of eyes on it. That's something that maybe that we wouldn't see.
Yeah, and there is, the tutors in the writing centers won't edit it per se, but they might say, oh, this doesn't look right, or the sentence doesn't make sense, and they might kind of help walk you through it. But there are, on every campus, there is a tutoring or writing center. There's that Smart Thinking that if you look on our Canvas site, it has a link there, and you can go in there and they can help you. You can actually set up to do one-on-one conversations like this. So for everyone, there's a lot of outside help that you can be getting on these papers. So, okay. And, tomorrow I do have some office hours, but yeah, if anyone has questions, hopefully they watch this beforehand and they email me. And if you email me over the weekend, I'll try and get back to you too. If you email me a draft over the weekend, I probably won't read it.
Yeah.
I got to have some boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Let me unmute this. So is there someone else here? The person on the phone? Okay, we'll just take that as a no. I bet you they turned it on and then didn't realize it was on. Okay, well, if you don't have any other questions, Cleveland, are you good?
Yes, I'm good. And thank you for setting this up, doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you're here. It gave me someone to talk to.
I know. Because you typically are just sitting there talking to yourself.
Oh, well, I do that all the time. So. Okay, well, I'm going to end the call, and you have a good evening, okay?
And you too.
Okay, bye.
All right, thank you.